Hey everybody, I'm Becky Adams. Thank you for stopping by my YouTube channel today. Today I have several projects to share with you using Scrapbook.com exclusive products. Here at the beginning of the video, I have a full process video, and then at the end I will show you a few more projects that I made with the products that Scrapbook.com recently sent to me. So for this layout though, I am using these dies. So the sprig die set, which I actually don't end up using, and then the Opposites Attract die set, which has two fonts. It's awesome. It's a script font and a, oh gosh, a non-script font. I cannot remember that word, but that's okay. And then the tag die set, which you guys know I use and love. And then the slimline dies, or slimline border dies, and this is set number 2. These are all fantastic dies that I reach for all the time. I am also using the Harvest pattern paper pad, and these are actually brand new to Scrapbook.com. In fact, they might not even be in stock yet, but I will leave the link in the description box below, and make sure you click that notify me button so that you know when they arrive in the store and you can go over and purchase them. These are really fun pattern paper sets, and I'll show a few more of them here at the end of the video. But now on to the project. As you guys see or saw in the title, this is the layout that I almost threw away. I made a big mistake here. You'll see I kept my camera going and showed you how I fixed it. So we'll get onto that here in just a minute, but I want you to let me know in the comment section below, do you throw layouts away? I have only done it a couple of times. In fact, I can only think of one specifically where I just could not save it. It looked terrible. I hated it, and I just threw it away and started over. But let me know in the comments, do you throw layouts away, or do you keep pushing forward until it's something you like or something that you can live with? I'm curious. So what I'm doing here is I took a bunch of pattern papers from the Harvest pattern paper 6x8 paper pad and cut them into 1" by 8" strips. And then I took a few more strips and die cut them with the scallop die from the Slimline Borders die set. And I used, of course, my Magic Mat from Scrapbook.com, and then I also used my Gemini Junior. That's definitely the tool that I didn't know I needed, but wow, I absolutely love it. Anyway, that's how I did all my die cutting. I did that off camera, one, because it takes a long time and it's really boring to watch. Two, because my camera does not love to record. It doesn't focus, I guess is what I'm trying to say. It doesn't focus when I use my die cutting machine. So I just do my die cutting off camera and then tell you guys what I did. Anyway, so I layered the scallop strips on top of the exact same pattern paper. I didn't want a huge contrast here, but I did want a little bit of texture and dimension on these strips. So I'm just adhering that last strip, and I flipped through. I've got a few sheets of cardstock here for the background, and I'm trying to decide which one I want. Honestly, looking at them all here on camera, they are all fine and would have worked well. But I'm still a little undecided, so I'm just going to continue on with my project and decide a little later down the road. So I have this big yellow tag. This is one that I cut from the Harvest paper pad, the Harvest cardstock paper pad, and the tag die set. And then I just adhered my photo to that. Typically I tie bows at the top of my tags. I've got just a scrap of ribbon that I had in my stash, But for this one, the bow seemed a little overwhelming, and it almost looked like there was a bow on top of my husband's head. Anyway, I didn't like how it looked, I guess, long story short. And so I'm just stapling that little scrap of ribbon in place. And anyway, I like how that looks better than a bow. So I cut my title using the Opposite Attract die set. And when I die cut those, I immediately put the die cuts onto a piece of mint tape. If you haven't tried mint tape, you definitely need to. It's awesome. It is sold out frequently. They have a really hard time keeping it in stock. So make sure to click that notify me button so that you can be notified. And when it's in stock, run grab it because it is hard to get your hands on it sometimes. So I'm adhering the letters together. As I mentioned earlier, there's a script font and a block font. Is that the word that I'm looking for? And I use the script font for the word autumn and then the block font for the word drive. So the script font, most of the letters connect together. So I'm using just a Nuvo glue pen to adhere the letters together, and then I will adhere them to my background. This is the first time I've used a Nuvo pen for this, and it honestly, it's a great adhesive, don't get me wrong, and it works well, but it doesn't dry very quickly, and I bumped my letters a couple of times and they kind of shifted. So at the end of the day, it's not a huge deal, but it was a little bit frustrating to me. Anyway, that's just my 2 cents on the Nuvo glue pen. So I'm just going to adhere the last few letters on drive. It's nice when I have all of my letters on that mint tape so I can do the adhesive all at once and just stick everything down because I've already got the adhesive on it. I'm using a scratch paper to make sure that I don't get glue all over my layout or all over my workspace. This is a paper pad that I have on my workspace from We Are Memory Keepers. We Are Memory Keepers. Wow, I'm having a hard time getting my words out today, friend. So I could have used it, but I didn't want to switch out that my workspace mat. So anyway, I just used a piece of scratch paper. Now that I have my title adhered, then I'm going to use my Scrapbook.com roller adhesive and then also some foam adhesive to adhere the tag. I've got this big roll of foam adhesive that I get from Scrapbook.com. I just cut a couple of little pieces off. I like to have the top of my tags pop off the page. I don't know, I just think it's a fun detail, so often I will adhere my tags this way. So the top pops off the page and then the bottom is just adhered to the background. I'm just using my T-square ruler to make sure that I have that photo straight because I didn't want it to look off and a little wonky on the background there. So when I did my die cutting, I cut out a few sprigs from the Sprigs die set and pattern paper from the Harvest pattern paper pad. I don't end up using these. I kind of play around for a few minutes, but at the end, I guess what it came down to is that it looked too busy. I've already got a lot going on in the background, and I just felt like adding more embellishments on top of that was not the look I was going for. So I do decide on the medium brown background paper. Wow. And I'm just using my Scrapbook.com adhesive roller to adhere that. I lined it up on my background so that I got everything nice and straight. So now it is time to adhere my journaling strips. And I print all of my journaling at home just on a regular printer using regular copy paper. I don't buy the least expensive copy paper, but I don't buy anything super expensive either. It's not even cardstock. It's just printer paper. And after I print it out, then I cut it down to strips using my paper trimmer. And then I put adhesive on the back. And I use double-sided tape from Scrapbook.com. I use 1/4 inch or 1/8 of an inch and 1/4 inch double-sided tape. It depends on the width of the journaling strip. That depends on which tape I use. So on some of these I used 1/4 of an inch and some of them 1/8 of an inch. I did print my journaling strips a little bit different this time around. I don't love it, and probably if I had to go back and do it again, I wouldn't do it this way again. But instead of adhering each strip, or excuse me, cutting each individual strip, I left like sections of the story together. So some of them are 1 line, some of them are 3 lines. I don't like the variation. I don't like the variation of the size of the strips. Honestly, at the end of the day, I doubt that anyone will ever look at my album and say, oh, you probably should have used different sized journaling strips. I think they will be excited to read the story, is what I hope. So I tried a few of those sprigs again, ultimately decide I did not like them. And here is where things go terribly wrong, and I almost throw this project away. So I'm using Pops of Color in the color Sage. I love Pops of Color. I used it often. There's absolutely nothing wrong with Pops of Color on this project. It's 100% user error. So what I do is I just go around and do little dots, and then I kind of tap it on my desk to flatten them out a little bit so they look more like enamel dots. Well, on this one, instead of flattening out, they started to kind of run down the page. When I picked my layout up, it wasn't level. So at this point, I turned my camera off. I was super frustrated. I was about to throw things away, and then I decided that I was going to try and make it work. At this point, I'm still not sure that I can save it, but I didn't want to start clear over on this project. So what I decided to do is just cut each strip down, or I guess cut the section that has the mess on it, and replace it with a new strip. So this one, luckily, it was all on one strip. I just pulled out that one strip. I was able to adhere it right there under the letter E so you don't even see it. The other two are not quite so easy, but I still managed to do it. So I cut this one under the photo so that when I put the new strip in, you won't see the seam. You can see kind of there right on the top of the letter A, there where I'm cleaning off with my fingernail, that's where part of the dot was. I did just clean it off with my fingernail, and honestly, you cannot tell. Like, to look at it, you wouldn't even know that it was there. I did fix these while they were still wet. If it was dry, I would not have been able to do that. So it is a little risky to do this when it's still wet, but I thought it was my best chance at saving the project. So here again, I pulled that strip out and cut it underneath the photo so that when I put the new strip in, you can't tell, you can't see the seam. So I just cut another little chunk off from that kind of a pink strip and adhered that with tape runner. And then I think I come back and, yep, and put that journaling strip in. And then at this point, I was like, should I even try it again? But I really love the look of it, so I did. And I'm just doing the same thing, putting dots in a cluster of 3 around 3 sections of the page. And then when I pick it up here in a second, I am much more careful with raising it up, and I kind of tap it underneath with my finger. And that flattens them out just a little bit so they look more like enamel dots. And I'm so excited that I was able to fix it and not have to start over with this project, which is what I was afraid of. So here are the other projects that I wanted to show you. There's the pops of color and what I like them to look like. And this is using the Christmas paper pad, and then a cute little house die that is upcoming for Scrapbook.com, as well as that the title. I did stack several die cuts to create that title. Here's one that I used, the boho pattern paper set and the cardstock. I used the DIY pocket set and tag die set to make that pocket. And then I've got just a couple, I set a goal to actually make memory decks cards for a memory deck that's been sitting on my desk forever. So I love these couple of memory decks cards that I make. I was going to staple that there, and I probably should have, but I was honestly feeling a little bit scared after messing up that last layout. So I decided just to leave those memory decks cards as they are. So thank you so much for stopping by. Thank you for hanging out with me and all of the errors that I've made on my projects lately. If you haven't done so, I would love to have you subscribe. I would love to have you here on my channel. So thanks again for stopping by, and I will see you again soon.